is unanimous
you.
consent.
Roll call.
Roll call, roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, there's no roll call, is it here?
What do you mean there's no roll call?
All right, let's have roll call.
Brown,
Brown here.
Braz,
Braz here.
Copy, Leonard,
Leonard here.
Sanchez, Allen, Kenyon,
Alan, present. Can you hear me?
I was looking to four days in a row, Deborah, but you didn't.
You're on?
make it.
and Shepro.
Shepro present.
We have quorum.
We need a unanimous approval of the minutes, Mr. Leonard.
Leonard, so moves.
Braz second.
Alan, second.
You don't second a
Approved if
unanimous
nobody
consent.
objects. On the public comment,
Good call.
you signed up for that, Brown?
No, I'll be back though.
And our partners are, looks like the one we can only count on is Mr. Arnold. The food bank is leaving us. I mean, they're not gonna be here.
Well, as the one you can count on, first, I'd like to apologize for missing last month's meeting. I put just one thing in front of most of you, and that's a report on or from the American Farm Bureau Federation on the cost of Thanksgiving dinner. The Farm Bureau does what's called a market basket survey once a year and a Thanksgiving dinner survey. And this is not great news, but we hope it's to use a word that we all became familiar with, transitory. We hope that the price of the Thanksgiving dinner comes down for one and all next year. And although I think that this gives an average price found around the country of $1.81 per pound for 16-pound turkeys. I think we all know that we've seen them advertised at 59 and 69 cents also. So I don't think, at least based on what we're hearing locally, that Thanksgiving turkeys are going to be in short supply. We put in an order, as we do for our members every year, yesterday, and had absolutely no concerns from the grower of fulfilling those orders. So that's the good news. Again, as I said, I apologize for missing last month's meeting. I had a conflict. I want to go back briefly in time on October 13th, and we reported this in our Kane County Farmer, which I believe all of you read, and I want to believe, I know all of you receive, and I want to believe all of you read. But on October 13th, we had a little gathering of leaders. We are actually celebrating our 110th year in 2022. And we gathered to plant 9 memorial trees and to dedicate our Illinois Prairie Pollinator Rain Garden and a new I can't find the right word, but a new little library for the public to help get information about agriculture, farms, and food out to the public. So we dedicated those things on October 13th. Mr. Kenyon was among those people honored, along with 6 other of his farmer colleagues who have served on the Illinois Farm Bureau Board of Directors over the last 110 years. Henry McGuff, Jack Young, John White Jr., Mike Kenyon, Eldon Gould, and Robert Gerke. And so there was a report about that in our Kane County Farmer. We also used that as an occasion to draw a winner in our foundation's annual fundraiser, which we call a vintage truck raffle. All of you also, as members of the Farm Bureau, as Ag Committee members who have a membership in the Farm Bureau, should have received a Winter Partners magazine. And I thought I had a copy of it with me, but I don't see it right now. But that magazine does have a story this month on livestock care during the winter, from Andy and Sarah Linkaitis of Campton Hills or St. Charles. So if you received that, there's an article about the Linkaitises in that publication. It's policy development season for us. Over the next month, our delegates and alternate delegates will be debating policy resolutions that will go to the Illinois Farm Bureau annual meeting in early December. Mike Kenyon is one of those 4 delegates from King County. A crop progress report from the Illinois Ag Statistics Service shows as of the 6th of November, 88% of the corn and 94% of the soybeans in the state are harvested. And I would say that that's pretty consistent with what we're seeing here in King County. Pretty darn good harvest. I think particularly in Northern Illinois, late planting, timely rains, turned off very dry in the fall. The harvest progressed pretty slowly, mostly due to energy prices, at least here in Northern Illinois. Farmers weren't really eager to get corn out of the field at 20% moisture if they had to artificially dry it down to 15%. So a lot of corn stayed in the field, letting Mother Nature do the job of drying it down. As far as moisture, most of King County and most of Illinois is about 40% short on soil moisture as we head into the winter. And again, that's part of the result of the dry late summer and harvest weather. Our not-for-profit foundation, now that the crop is in, we'll be getting together early next week to talk about college scholarships for 2023-24, for support of FFA, for fundraisers for next year, and possibly about scholarships for technical schools and for truck drivers. And agriculture, just like every other industry, is suffering from the lack of truck drivers, and we hope that maybe by offering some incentives for students to apply for scholarships, that we can get more truck drivers out there on the road. Over the winter, we're planning across the state a series of winter crop meetings for farmers to look at their risk management options for 2023. And also a series of rules for the road programs, one of which will be held in King County probably in March. I'm sure Mr. Fraz can relate to this also, but the things you have to know and do to have commercial vehicles on the road, the list just gets more and more complicated every year. And then the last thing, and I gave copies to Mr. Van Kerkhoff and Mr. Tansley, the Illinois Farm Bureau, in cooperation with the Illinois Farmers Market Association and Illinois Specialty Growers, will sponsor what's called an Everything Local Conference in Springfield and online on January 11th through the 13th. So I believe, shared information on that conference in our King County Farmer last month, and will again for our December issue. For anyone who likes to attend, those who are members of the Farm Bureau can notify us of their attendance after the fact, and we will reimburse them the registration costs. So that concludes my 2-month report.
Are there any questions for Stephen? Madam
Mr.
Chairman,
Chairman,
she raised her hand first, Kenneth.
Can we drill down a little bit about the Everything Local? Now, is that for local farmers markets, or farms and farm stands?
Yeah, local farmers markets, farmers who sell either through CSA programs or their own farm markets or through farmers markets, and all types of products and all types of production practices. So it's not exclusively organic, it's not exclusively local, it's not exclusively, so it's apples to honeybees to everything local. So yes, again, regardless of market outlook, let, regardless of production practices and regardless of product.
And I've got one more question. Are we looking at, or is the Farm Bureau looking at the development of a community-based commercial chicken kitchen? Where small producers can go and develop their own product to sell, a processed product, let's say, whether it be soup, cheese, a prepared meal that then can be distributed. Because I know a commercial kitchen is very important to have. There is a law that the Illinois passed that you can bake at home, make product at home, but that is a sidestep to doing a larger product disbursement. So I know from my information, and I may be wrong, the only one that's close here is in DeKalb. And is that something that we may want to consider an opportunity here to have one in Kane County?
And Matt's probably better equipped to answer that question than I am. Thanks, Matt. But there have been a number of efforts over a number of years to establish commercial kitchens. And I believe that I'm going to draw a blank on the names, but one of the farms out near Mr. Frost, I think originally had a proposal. Not Rustic Road, Heritage Prairie. Thank you. And then through the market up in Elgin, there was commercial kitchen space available. There's been a lot of effort put into changing the cottage food laws to make it easier for people to sell product at farmers market that is produced at home. And the commercial kitchens are another step in that direction, but I don't know where we stand. I don't know if there are any in King County anymore with the Dream Hub. I don't know where that stands.
Shepro, comment?
The Dream Hub, is that what it's called?
Sure. Yeah, there used to be a business located in Elgin.
It's not used to be, it's still there.
The
Yeah, I think it's under different ownership.
okay, that's right. We haven't been in contact with them, but there's I believe it still operates as a shared kitchen. I think the one that you're thinking of in DeKalb is the Business of Food, which operates in Sycamore. And we know that they had catered much more specifically to growers. We know that they had worked previously with Klein's and Wiltsey's to freeze and package some of their product for a while. But we haven't been in contact with them recently, but as far as we know, they're still operating there.
Well, the question was, if Dream Hub is still in existence, is there a need for another one? I mean, is that something that we could possibly take a look at to support locally processed and grown food?
Yeah, that's something we can certainly take a look at. I mean, as Steve mentioned, the changes in the cottage industry law has changed the game for in terms of what can be produced at home without needing a commercial kitchen. Some of the commercial kitchen space in Elgin has been used more by caterers and restaurant type vendors than value added producers like a farm, making a value added thing. But it's something that's worth looking into. In fact, that's something we could look at including in one of our next surveys. If we don't have a question that was asked about that in terms of what their current and emerging needs are for making value added products.
So I think that the changes in the cottage food laws may have decreased the demand for commercial kitchens. I think that even before that time, there are producers and growers who have the need for a commercial kitchen, there's not been, I don't think anybody has solved the problem of meeting that demand in a for-profit environment, that will justify the construction of such a facility. So.
Mr. Ar,
Oh, I just want to add and point out also in the changes that the county board just recently adapted to our zoning ordinance. We primarily focused on the farm stand and the agritourism aspect, but also in those changes was a new definition for a home-based agricultural business, which again was geared to expand where that type of cottage food value added preparation could be done. It expanded it so it didn't just have to be in the home, it could also be an accessory structure. So we also just recently changed some of our regulations to make that easier for farmers.
Mr. Shepro, did you still have a comment?
Yes, I had a comment on another topic for Mr. Arnold, but on this one, my recollection, and Mr. Van Kerkhoff could confirm it if it's true, is that there were a number of instances when I was the attorney for the board where people who ran a catering business out of their house and had the space available would install a kitchen to commercial standards in somewhere. But I gather that what Madam Chair's question is about is the availability of a commercial kitchen to a variety of users and not just somebody that has one in their house because they have a catering business.
That's accurate. That's accurate. If you want to make cookies or you're very good at making soups.
I know the one in Elgin is there because our class reunion used it and we bought the meal there and then we bought the dessert from there. And that's on Fleetwood Drive, which leads into East EC. And Mr. Frost.
Mr. Arnold mentioned Heritage Prairie on Brundage, but at the other farm, Rustic Road, I'm pretty sure that they use a shared commercial kitchen and it's somewhere to the southwest, either Sugar Grove or Kendall County. And they do a lot of food preparation and they go down there and use it. So I texted them, maybe I'll get an answer before we leave.
Just to continue this conversation regarding food production, I met and had a wonderful conversation with a number of our not-for-profit food pantries at the Northern Illinois Food Bank about 2 weeks or so ago. And one of the things that they have requested that we can look at going forward in the springtime during planting season is an arrangement where there's more locally grown food that can be distributed to the food pantries. I know we have food for Cane. I know that, but this could be a model that was done here when we had all that food that was harvested in our own little garden here. And I think there were 1,100 pounds of food that actually went to the Batavia Food Pantry that was all done by volunteers in a very small plot of land. It wasn't even as big as this area. So it was quite productive. We've got good farmland here as it was once before. It still continues. But if something like this could be developed throughout the county so that locally grown produce can be harvested and distributed out to our food pantries.
I know Michelle DeRate still does it. I think she's in Batavia.
And they also, and I think that conversation may be coming through the ARP committee, a facility that takes, now I'm out of my wheelhouse now, so forgive me, that dehydrates food so that whatever that food may be can be preserved and then processed. So either fresh frozen or actually dehydrated so it can be used throughout the year. So if there's extra produce, which everyone seems to have a ton, when it's a good year, people have more tomatoes than they can possibly use. You can't give them enough away. And the same thing with zucchini, that these can be processed and then used for our food pantries. Because right now, because of COVID and because production costs and whatnot, and because of lack of product at our grocery stores, they are continually getting less fresh food available. And it's the starchy food that is being given
This is an
out.
opportunity for retiring board members to step in and start a big garden down there.
Well, I would certainly welcome Mr. Brown's commitment to help out with this, but I don't want to put him on the spot right now. But this may be something that we could possibly talk about and see what it looks like. Because again, I'm out of my wheelhouse, but I've heard very clearly that this is a great need.
Mr. Kenyon,
Yes,
you're correct. Michelle did have a garden in Batavia, a quite large garden over on Verdant Road.
oh, she works hard.
Yeah, she works very, very hard. Unfortunately, that piece of property is not available for her this year. The last I talked to her, she's thinking she has another piece of property, but doesn't have a firm commitment on it. The Batavia Rotary Club, which I'm a member of, we went over and on a Saturday morning, helped her clean everything all out, and all of her not all of her garden supplies that she needs were all taken out to Kuiper's farm for storage. She's pretty good friends with them, and he's gonna store it for her until she finds another plat of land to put it on.
Kuiper's has a nice piece of property across from the Cougar Stadium, about 10+ acres that has just remained idle for many years.
Hmm.
I know because we mowed it for her. So she, but anyway, hi, Deborah.
Good morning,
Well,
Mr.
that's-
Chairman.
4 times.
Mr. Chairman, Shepro.
Yes,
2 things. One is since we're on this topic, I'm given to understand that today is International Skip a Meal Day to recognize and assist those people who don't get to voluntarily skip a meal and to donate to your favorite charity. I know Oxfam is one that is promoting that. I already skipped my meal for the day. But, on a other topic, and I'm not proposing this, but I'm pointing out, I know that the infamous noise and firearms ordinance was deferred to the December meeting of the Judicial Public Safety Committee. But I also know that the Farm Bureau, among others, have weighed in on this. And if I understand the committee meeting schedule, this committee will not meet again before the Judicial Public Safety Committee meeting, which is going to take up the ordinance. And I feel as if this committee ought to perhaps discuss or weigh in on some of the issues that will be relevant to that ordinance. And I'm not suggesting we do it today, but perhaps you might want to give some consideration to rescheduling the December meeting so that there could be some input from Mr. Arnold and the Farm Bureau and other interested parties before judicial takes it up.
Mr. Van Kerkhoff is getting ready for this discussion. Should we move on? Because Matt's been patiently waiting. Kane County Farmer and Partner of Social Media Tools.
Morning. Yes, thank you.
That's you.
Just give IT a moment to bring up my slides. I've got a couple of presentations today, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the different ways that farmers and local food partners are using social media to reach their customers and to market their products. Social media is widely seen as a way to help level the playing field between small farms and businesses and help them compete with bigger operations that have more resources. Because most of these social media tools are free. So farmers can sign up for them. They can use different types of social media depending on what type of audience they're trying to reach and what type of content and information they're trying to share. So I spent a little bit of time and just looked at some of the web pages for our farmers and just looked at some of the different things that farmers are using social media for. So you'll see that, you know, they're often using them to promote new and seasonal products, to build brand awareness for products and services. One of the more effective things that I think a few of our farmers are doing is using social media to showcase their farms as destinations and event venues. Kane County is unique. We do have a good grouping of agritourism farms, you know, these farms that are really built to entice people to come out and have experiences with their families on the farms. And so they have, you know, they have video tours to show people what different types of activities they can do. And it's really an interactive experience online, and helps draw people in. And also, you know, pages like, you know, Facebook can be used to help build community, because not only can these businesses communicate with their customers, but a lot of times the customers can communicate with each other, and they can share ideas, and they can learn about different things. This is just a look at Heritage Prairie Farms website, and it's indicative of how a lot of farm business websites will use social media on their web pages. Typically, you'll see either in the header, the footer of the web page, a string of links to the different social media pages that they're signed up to use. So here you can see at the top, looks like Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and TikTok. And so we'll just take a look at Heritage Prairie Farms Pinterest page. And so for those that aren't familiar, Pinterest is a photo sharing web page, essentially. So an organization or an individual can have a page where they share photos about their hobby or their business. And then other people can pin photos within a page, so they can basically catalog them for their own ideas. And it's really a good way to share ideas and to draw inspiration for other, you know, for other hobbies, for other interests. And so this is a video that is posted on TikTok by Heritage Prairie Farm, and I'll let them play this video real quick for you here. And TikTok is really designed to record short videos with a mobile device, and so it's just quick and easy to post videos and, you know, share a quick tour or a quick idea with customers. And you know, it's just meant to be kind of a snapshot of what's happening on a farm or in a business on a given day. And this is another video shared by Garlic Breath Farm. And this isn't shared with us recently, and I wanted to take an opportunity to share this with you if it will play. It is so these are the types of videos and information that you'll see a lot of these farms sharing with their, with their customers and their followers. This is some data on the most popular social media apps that are out there. And so, to nobody's surprise, Facebook is still the leading app. It has, hard to believe, but 2.9 that's billion monthly users. It's, pretty incredible to think that that's basically a third of the world population is using Facebook. And there's a bunch of others that are pretty popular as well. And these are some insights that were shared in a Forbes article a couple years ago. And this just shows some of the tips that organizations can use when they start delving into using, this myriad of social media apps. I'll just highlight a couple of these. So, farm businesses are really experts in their field, and they can really brand themselves as a good resource for members of the community to go to and to learn about, recipes or how to grow certain products and how to use certain products. So social media can really help them develop that authority and that reputation. It's recommended that that operators try to dominate on a single platform. Most farms will use multiple social media programs, but it's time consuming, as you'll see, to manage all of these apps and to generate content for all of them. So it's generally advisable that that businesses really pick one that they're good at and that really meets their needs well and helps them reach their customers in an effective way, and to spend most of their time just focused on one. But it's still good to have a presence, to some extent, on all those different apps. And lastly, it takes a lot of time. So, it makes sense to have somebody who's really focused on this as their job. I mean, large companies can have teams of social media content developers and folks that are just constantly posting and marketing products and services, but smaller organizations don't really have these resources.
As I'm pointing out, our public information officer who does exactly that.
Right. A little bit of everything. So it can be a very effective tool, and our farmers have really figured out how to use this in some pretty innovative ways, and have really figured out how to reach their customers far and wide. And so before I move on to the next presentation, I'd be happy to take any questions on this. Debbie?
Mrs. Allen.
I would just like to toss into the ether that this is the reason that social media was invented. As opposed to all of the negative stuff, here is how you can talk to your friends and neighbors and share what's really good in the world. I mean, don't we all feel grateful to live in a community with a business called Garlic Breath Farms? Isn't that a better world to live in? Thank you for letting me vent, Mr. Chair.
Chases away vampires, the garlic.
Okay. And the next presentation I have is an update on the livestock market assessment. This has been, I know I covered this a bit more earlier in the year, and this has been on a shelf a bit, but we are moving this along again, and we will soon be putting out a request for proposals to contract with a consultant to develop a livestock market assessment for Kane County. So I have some updates on that. Just to recap the project, so the intent here is to develop a written assessment, and this is going to be an informational resource for livestock farmers to help them better market their products, to make better decisions about the types of products that they want to sell, where they can sell them, and really help them to capture a larger share of the market for these value-added livestock products. And secondarily, we also hope this will be a resource for those other value chain contributors that livestock farmers work with. So product distributors, processors, aggregators. We hope this will be useful information to them as well so that they can better and more effectively work with livestock farmers to bring their products to market. Our starting budget for this project is $10,000. So we had received funding from Compeer, a $5,000 grant that we matched. We do have some additional funds that are available and some of the other county funds that we have access to that we could, potentially, if need be, cover the cost depending on what the consultant is proposing. So we'll, eventually we'll have to negotiate with them to kind of fit, what's reasonable with what we can expect to get. And so I do think it's worth reminding the committee that this does all stem from the Growing for Cane ordinance. And it does specifically identify meat products and dairy products among basically the agricultural product set that Growing for Cane does cover. So I think it's important to mention that just because I think a lot of times we look at Growing for Cane as the fruits and vegetables policy for the county, and it's really bigger than that and more encompassing than that. And so leading up to this request for proposal that we are about to put out, we did a quick survey of our livestock farmers because we wanted to get some input from them to understand, what information is important to them. I mean, what parts of this market assessment could really benefit their business. So we asked a couple of questions to get that information. And the first was just generally, what kinds of market information will be useful to your business? And among these responses, they indicated help with identifying high demand products. So that's something that we're gonna include specifically in the request for proposal, is something that we want the consultant to look at. And in addition, what information about buyers would be most useful, and they indicated that information about consumers' trends and preferences. And then lastly, we asked them about what are the top challenges that they face in bringing their products to market. And, with unanimous consent, they indicated that access to processing is by far the biggest challenge. So they were unanimous on that. So that's, so right now we have the RFP identifying processing as its own section that we want that report to focus on. So these are the four deliverables, if you will, that we're asking the consultant to provide. And this is, going to be subject to change when we start creating a project plan with the consultant that we select. But I'll just walk through these briefly. So we want them to look at the current production capacity. So basically help us understand, what is being produced, what are the volumes, so we have a full understanding of what the landscape is for production in the county. And that's going to be helpful not only to us in terms of planning, but to farmers to know where there might be opportunities to introduce new products to the market and where they can distinguish their business. This will also include a demand analysis. And basically that's going to identify, what are the channels for livestock markets, for livestock products? Is it restaurants? Is it grocery stores? Where is the demand? And what specifically are the products that these buyers are looking for? And then the third item is going to focus again on processing. what is the current capacity of processing, but also, we're going to ask the consultant to help us understand strategically what could be done to help, address log jams and address the access challenges that farmers are facing, in connecting with and working with processors. And then the last one, this kind of ties into that as well, is to generate some market access strategies. So just, what are some concrete strategies that can help farmers? What action steps can they take to, capture a larger share of the market for their products and for products that they might not even be producing yet? And then the final output of this is going to be, a written report that we'll make available to them, and and we'll be sharing. So these are the next steps. Right now, we wanted to, we want to gather input as we finalize the RFP. Right now, we're looking to release that during the first week of December. So, we're still welcoming any input or suggestions as to what that might focus on. And then we're gonna disseminate that to a list of consultants that we've developed that we think have a good amount of experience that could fit with this type of project, as well as other networks that, reach consultants in this field. And then we'll go through the process of reviewing those and eventually selecting the most qualified consultant. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Mr. Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt, I've got a question for you with respect to the livestock industry in Kane County. And I'm wondering how that compares to other rural or suburban counties throughout the US. In other words, are we comparable to them? Do we produce less or more? And then also with respect to that question, the second part of that, is the processing capabilities in this area a bottleneck for these livestock people?
Yes, on your second question, we do know that that access is very much a challenge. I gave a presentation months ago, and currently there are, I believe it's 6 slaughtering facilities between Route 39, like from Rockford, and then north from I-80. So there are limitations in terms of access to those facilities. But the assessment is gonna dig deeper into that. So there's gonna be additional follow-up. So we have a better understanding of, what the true challenges are. We know that it's a challenge, but we don't know the full nuances of that yet. And then as far as looking at other counties, we are comparable to some of the other collar counties. I can't remember if it's DeKalb or McHenry, but we have.
Oh, DeKalb's got more.
Okay, then maybe it's McHenry.
Livestock farms.
But we are comparable in terms of head of cattle and other types of livestock. But there are other counties, that are more agricultural, that do have more larger herds, larger population of livestock.
Mr. Chair, Bates, please.
Mavis, please.
I'm in a meat CSA that comes out of, it's called Walnut Acres in Walnut, Illinois, I think. They just deliver it to Batavia where we pick it up. And that farmer created his own butcher shop. He became his own processor. Are we thinking about helping any of our farmers do that? Do our farmers want to become their own processors?
What? Oh,
That
yeah.
that is something.
We'd get finding somebody that can do it. Not everybody is a butcher. Well,
Right.
we are butchers in other ways, but
That is something that we could look at. And I will add that from a policy standpoint, that we're also going to, within this assessment, look at ways that county policy could be adjusted to be more accommodating of the needs of livestock farmers. And that it could include, regulations for processing facilities. So that's something that we'll be attentive to.
Do you communicate with Illinois Beef?
We haven't yet.
Gonna have something in December over at DeKalb where they talk about the similar things at the DeKalb Farm Bureau, and there's a free meal there too. And beef is good. Yeah, well, maybe steak. I don't know, but you might contact them and see what they're gonna do. I listen to the radio. And that's what they talk about on the farm radio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Another question for you, Matt, from Ms. Bates' comments. Would there be any way that maybe one of the farms could become a center or a base for multiple farms to send their livestock for processing, like a consortium?
That is a possibility. I know that we've in the past, we've looked at that more so from the standpoint of fruits and vegetables. And there are farms that have acted as, as aggregation hubs on a smaller scale. But that is something that, that is certainly something that we could look at, at least from a case study standpoint to see if there's other farms that could, serve as a model for that. So yeah, that's a good suggestion.
I know my friends go to Lena, Illinois to have their beef processed. And that's a long way.
I know.
And then, well, the drive's expensive.
My comment, that's very expensive to haul all that, the beef down there to Nina.
Okay,
that's
thank
an
you for
additional
looking into
cost.
this. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Where are we at now? Yes, assessment, water resources. What do you got for us?
Good morning. I just have some quick updates for you today. Our water quality testing for 2022 is complete. We will be aggregating those results with the testing that was completed in 2021, and we'll be back here to report those. We might be at the point that we're seeing some trends in our agricultural drainage areas and that we can start developing those practices for those sub watersheds and bring those results back to this committee. The second item I have is that our climate action implementation plan has kicked off, and we will have an agricultural section in that plan. We are working with Pale Blue Dot that is out of Minnesota, and we'll be looking specifically at the Dane County, Wisconsin plan that did include an agricultural section. I've touched base with Steve Arnold in the Farm Bureau, and we've also spoken with Matt Tansley and Janice Hill about including them in that group as we move forward. But if you have any farmers, specifically livestock farmers as well as crop farmers that might be interested in being added to our group, please send them our way and we will add them to the distribution list. The third item I have is the Village of Big Rock large storm sewer project is underway. They have had an RFP out for their engineering services and have selected a consultant for that. And we will be seeing a kickoff meeting after Thanksgiving for that work to begin. We are on a tight time schedule to get the elevations of that storm sewer through the Doberman Road corridor. So we do not impact negatively the KDOT construction that is to be bid early next year. So that will be our main goal, is to get the storm sewer alignment and the elevations finalized so KDOT can include that in their Doberman Road specifications. That was all I had. If you have any questions, let me know.
Questions for Jody? I want to say, when I was doing my reading, I noticed an article in the Wisconsin State Farmer. It said, it's 1970, there were 640,000 dairy farms. Today, there's fewer than 30,000. That's quite an adjustment. And they were talking about the need for hiring milk haulers. It's not an easy job, and you'll have to get up early and you work late and the truck cab is cold. But there's a shortage of people all over this place. Mr. Brown,
I've retired twice now.
well, 3 times would be a charm. But I know our hauler comes from Wisconsin and the milk goes to Rockford.
95% reduction since 1970.
Yeah. Yeah, but we have more milk, but there's bigger farms too.
That was going to be my question, Mr. Chairman, is how is the, Shepro speaking, how is the decrease in the number of farms affected the overall production?
Well, every cow makes more milk and there's constant, look at the Lankitis farms.
Larger dairy.
Yeah,
farms.
a larger, and that to me is an amazing operation. Right in the middle of people and their neighbors like them. And if you drive by there, you don't smell their farm or anything. It's just a little bit.
You're used to it, Mike. You're used to it.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Bates, please.
Mavis,
I think we're producing more milk, but fewer farmers, which is a way of life
Yeah.
that is not
it is, there's
disappearing.
greater production. Like the one Fair Oaks farm in Indiana. They don't have a milk tank. All the milk goes through a cooler and into a semi and it gets hauled to process.
Uh-huh. We're losing our farming way of life, so.
But they lost $1 million when roads were closed because they couldn't take their milk anywhere.
mm.
That's
Oh,
what
dear.
that efficiency did to them. They had no place to store it. Like 6 semi loads of milk a day.
No tank.
All right, I guess they could have started a, but I know what to say something else about foreign ownership of property. Canada owns the most US property. 32% of the number, Netherlands, Italy, United Kingdom, Germany, and China only owns 1%.
Good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, these people all have the money, and then another thing we give to Mark is the price of land, and it's been out of this world. 20, what was it in Iowa? 31,000 an acre? Is that what it was?
31.
Let's see, Iowa, Plymouth County, $26,250 an acre
For farmland.
for farmland, not for development, for farmland. And here's like Shelby County in Illinois, $21,100. Not a lot.
What was it 5 years ago, Mike?
What?
What was it like 5 years ago? How much has this risen?
I barely remember yesterday, ma'am. Because it's phenomenally up. It's up so high. People have money to spend and they put it where they want to, which.
It's developers too,
No,
speculating.
these are not development prices. This is land that's just gonna be farmed. If you and I are farmers, Mavis, and Bill Leonard is selling his farm, so it's between both of us, we will compete to buy Bill Leonard's farm. And
Yeah,
it won't make a difference to us how much we pay, as long as one of us wins.
I have a new image of that painting with the pitchfork in the middle now. Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Arnold, I forgot to ask you if we had any kind of prizes for today. Mr. Arnold? We can't give them the pickup truck because we sold it already. We'll be starting a new one.
If you've got a question, I'll offer, I don't know what it pays, it's frozen, but I'll offer a Thanksgiving turkey. I think it's 16 to 20 pounds. Has to be picked up.
Yeah, there you go.
Waterman.
Thanksgiving turkey, no delivery.
What, we didn't talk about that.
Oh.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I know it's not an appropriate prize for everyone, but don't forget Barnyard Bingo.
What?
Don't forget Barnyard Bingo.
Farmland bingo?
Barnyard Bingo.
And
It's in the back room somewhere?
Oh, where is that? I don't know. She brought a prize. Oh, I gotta think of a question.
Actually, can I ask a question of Mr. Arnold? Since this is our last, maybe our last meeting of the year. There was a euchre tournament, not a game that I know, but I have heard of. That was, I think, put on by maybe farm bureaus around the state. And there was something called the Award of Dubious Distinction. And I just wondered if there was any fit for public explanation of what the award for dubious distinction in the euchre tournament was.
Well, I'm gonna turn my microphone off.
Mavis won't let
It's
you.
called the Trophy of Dubious Distinction, or TOD, which is an acronym for.
Trophy of Dubious
Oh, boy,
Distinction.
Yeah,
What is it, Ken? What is it?
Well, TOD is an
maybe I forgot.
acronym for Trophy of Dubious Distinction.
Yes, Todd. Yeah, it is an acronym for Todd, and Todd is my first ex-wife's second ex-husband. But the Trophy of Dubious Distinction is when you do a euchre tournament, you score 3 rounds, or as we do it, we do a round robin tournament, score 3 rounds of names, and the team that gets the lowest score gets the Trophy of Dubious Distinction.
Is this what farmers do for fun?
All right, I have the question. Oh, for a family of 10, the cost of the Thanksgiving Day dinner, what is it?
$64 and
How much?
$64.10.
Oh. Mr. Leonard scores it, so.
Mr.
What's your
Leonard's
prize,
dinner
David?
just went down in
Just
price.
being here is my prize.
All right. We have nothing else.
I ask for unanimous consent to replace reports on file.
Mr. Brown does.
Everyone
No
agrees?
seeing No objections, we'll do that.
I'll move to adjourn.
Shepro.
Shepro. Thank you, Mr. Shepro, and Mr. Leonard seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.